This is lesson 12.3, graph data or data, whichever you want to say. It is on pages 563 through 566 in your workbook. So, does anyone know what you call something that's red, small, and has a rough voice? Yeah, red, small, has a rough voice. You would call that a horseradish. Horseradish. It's a real thing. Look it up. Moving along. So our learning target today is to graph and interpret data in a coordinate plane, and hopefully, as always, you can do it on your own by the end of the lesson. Alright, so looking back, the table shows the amount of snow that fell each day for 7 days. Represent the information in the table as ordered pairs, and here's how it's going to happen. We're just going to do 1 and 2, 2 and 4, 3 and 6, 4 and 6, 5 and 8, 6 and 10, 7 and 14. So the first one is going to be our x coordinate. The second one is going to be our y coordinate. Alright, so get those down. And then, look ahead, we're going to plot the ordered pairs in the coordinate plane. Describe how the snowfall changed over the 7 days. So I am going to plot it all in the amounts of snowfall on the right there. So that's what the ordered pairs should be plotted like in that coordinate plane. Describe how the snowfall changed over the 7 days. Well, here's what I'm going to say. The amount of snowfall increased about 2 inches each day. Yeah, so, we get 2 inches there, 2 inches there, stay the same. 2 inches, 2 inches, and then 4 inches. So the amount of snowfall increased about 2 inches each day. Even on this day, it went up 4. Well, all right, let's go to our key concept, graph data. Matter of fact, I think I'm going to call it data. Data are values collected from observations or measurements. You can use a coordinate plane to graph and interpret 2 categories of related data. Example, the table shows how many gold bars you collect at each level of a video game. Graph the data. In how many levels do you collect more than 30 gold bars? So here's our level down here. Here's the gold bars collected. So the gold bars collected are on the y-axis. So write the data from the table as ordered pairs. So you got 1 and 25, 2 and 40, and so on. So you've graphed the data there, or data. Plot the ordered pairs in a coordinate plane. So you collect more than 30 gold bars in 3 levels. And you can see it here, 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 and here. They're all above 30, so you can see that there's 3 of them there. Of course, you can also see it here, can't you? Alright, so different ways to interpret data, or data. My goodness. Decide on which way you're going to say it, Mr. Pingburn. No, I'm not. I'm going to say it data. Alright, I'll interchange the two in case we have a group of people who like data and like data. Anyway, our I can statement there says I can use ordered pairs to represent data. Well, let's go on to some in-class practice. So our I can statement says I can graph data in a coordinate plane. So the table shows the water levels of a portion of a river during a flood. Graph the data. So we got our time here. There's our time. And then our water level in feet here. Alright, so go ahead and graph that data and then we'll go over it. Alright, so here's what all that plotting should look like. We got 1 and 5, 2 and 8, 3 and 10, 4 and 11, 5 and 7, 6 and 5. Alright, so we've got that graphed. And number 2 asks us, When was the water level the highest? Well, if we look at this, this is the highest one. And when was it? At 4 hours. At 4 hours. All right, number 3. The table shows the number of eggs laid by a sea turtle in each of 6 years. Graph the data. So down here is the year. So here's the year. We got the x-axis, and the y-axis is the number of eggs. Here's 25, right? And it goes in increments of 5, doesn't it? All right. I want you to go ahead and graph that data, and then we'll go over it. All right, so here's what it should look like. We got 1 at 25, 2 at 40, 3 at 10, 4 at 35, 5 at 30, and then 6 at 50. All right. Number 4 says, what does the point 125 represent? So what does this represent here? Right here. I want you to go ahead and write that down, then we'll go over it. All right, you should have said something like this. In year 1, the sea turtle laid 25 eggs. All right, so something like that. All right, and of course your can statement, I can interpret data shown in a coordinate plane. All right, number 5, the table shows the number of teams at a robotics competition in each of 4 years. Graph the data for years 1 through 4. All right, go ahead and do that, and then we'll go over it. So did you notice that you had to put them in between some of the numbers? You know, number 1 and 10, that's fine. But 2 and 25, you needed to put in between the 20 and 30, right? Because 25 is in between 20 and 30. And 3 is at 340, and at 4 again, you had to put them in between there. All right, so on this next one, I'm going to give you a chance at a Jolly Rancher. It says, find a pattern in the number of teams at the competition. Use the pattern to find the next 3 data values in the table, then graph the data. All right, I want you to go ahead and do that, then we'll go over it, see if you earned a Jolly Rancher. All right, 15, right? Yeah, 15 in each year. So 55 plus 15, we get 70. Then 85. Then 100. And the graphing should look like this. 5 and 70. 6 and 85. 7 and 100. That's what it should look like. Alright, number 7 is test prep. I want you to go ahead and read and solve that, and then we'll go over it. Alright, so it says, which statement is not true about the graph? So the categories of data are the days of a fair and the number of people at the fair. Yeah, days and number of people. The greatest number of people attended the fair on day 3. Yep, that's true. More than 100 of people attended the fair on 4 of the days. So just 3 of the days. Yeah, on this day they actually had 100 people attend. So it's C. And then 50 fewer people attended the fair on day 1 than on day 5. Yeah, see, 100 minus 50 is 50. So let's connect this to real life. In our example, the table shows the ages of 8 students and the times they spend on the internet during 1 week. Graph the data. Of the students who spent more than 15 hours on the internet, how many are older than 10? So here's the age 10. So of the students that spent more than 15 hours on the internet, well, they'd have to be above here. How many are older than 10? That's where they get it. 2 of them right there. So 2 students older than 10 spent more than 15 hours on the internet. Alright, so with that kind of thinking in mind, I want you to read and solve number 8 and 9. Alright, so here's what the graph should look like. So 7 and 8, 7 and 8, 8 and 8, 9 and 9, 8 and 10, and then 7 and 9. So that's where they should be. And then of the students who slept more than 7 hours, so more than 7 hours would be these guys over here. How many scored more than 8 points? So these two peeps here. So 2 students. Yeah, you just have to graph that data correctly and then pay attention to what the data gives you or the data gives you, and then answer the question. Alright, I think for our last one that this deserves a Jolly Rancher moment. Alright, go ahead, read and solve number 10, and then we'll go over it. The graph shows how many receiving yards a football player had in each of 8 games. Did the player have more receiving yards in the first 4? So here's the first 4. Or the last 4 games. How many more? So this is the last 4. So we got 20, 30, 50, and 60. 20 and 30 is 50. 60 and 50 is 110. So we've got 160 in the first 4. And then we've got 40, 40. That's 80. 20 and 50, that's 70, so that's 150. So it would be the first 4. And how many yards? Well, 160 minus 150 is 10 yards. Alright, so again, just got to pay attention to what data or data the graph gives you, and pay attention to what the question asks, and do the needed math. Well, alright, let's go back to our learning target. Graph and interpret data in a coordinate plane. Hopefully you can do that on your own. I can use ordered pairs to represent data. I can graph data in a coordinate plane. I can interpret data shown in a coordinate plane. I mean, and it doesn't say I can choose which way to say data, so I can say data any way I want. Well, not any way I want, but one of those 2 ways. So remember, I love you. If you're still in number 2 and you need help, I will gladly help you. And those peeps who understand it and can show someone can help out your peers. All right, y'all have a good one.